My friends, let me tell you something. Some of the most powerful moments of my life happened when I was alone. Not in a crowd, not on a stage, not in a meeting full of voices telling me who I should be, but in the quiet, where I could finally hear myself. There is a difference, a deep, fundamental difference between being alone and being lonely. Yet so often people confuse the two. Loneliness is an emptiness, a craving for connection that feels just out of reach. It is the feeling of being unseen, unheard, and disconnected, even in a crowded room. But aloneness? Aloneness is a choice. It is a state of being that holds power, not weakness. When you embrace aloneness, you are not lacking anything. You are reclaiming yourself. You are stepping away from the noise, from the constant validation seeking, from the endless cycle of trying to be everything for everyone. You are learning to be everything for yourself first. There is a sacred energy in solitude, an energy that allows you to hear your own thoughts without interruption, to feel your own emotions without judgment, and to exist exactly as you are without needing permission. People fear being alone because they have been taught that solitude is something to be avoided. Society tells us that if we are alone, we are unwanted, unloved, unimportant, but that is a lie. Some of the most extraordinary minds, the most influential souls, have found their greatest strength in solitude. They have used their alone time to create, to reflect, to build, to transform. The world does not shape them, they shape the world because they have first learned to be with themselves. When you understand the power of aloneness, you no longer fill your time with distractions. You no longer settle for half-hearted relationships just to avoid silence. You no longer say yes when you mean no, just to keep someone around. You learn that your own company is enough. You learn that being alone does not mean being lonely. It means being whole. Aloneness sharpens you. It teaches you who you really are when no one is watching. It forces you to ask yourself the hard questions. Who am I without my titles? Who am I without the expectations placed on me? Who am I when the world is silent? And in that stillness, in that self-exploration, you begin to realize that everything you've been searching for outside of yourself has been within you all along. There is strength in walking alone for a while. There is clarity in detaching from the noise of the world and stepping into your own presence. You start to understand that solitude is not a punishment, it is a privilege. It is a space where you grow, where you heal, where you prepare for the life you truly want, rather than the life you have been told to accept. When you are comfortable with your own solitude, you do not need to beg for attention, to chase after love, or to prove your worth. You radiate something different, something unshakable, and the world takes notice. You become the kind of person who chooses people, not out of desperation, but out of true connection. You become the kind of person who walks away from what no longer serves them, without fear, without hesitation. The beauty of aloneness is that it teaches you to fill your own cup. It allows you to become so whole that anything or anyone who enters your life is simply an addition, not a necessity. It is the foundation upon which self-love, self-respect, and true personal power are built. There is a voice inside you that has been speaking to you your entire life, a voice that knows what you truly want, what you truly need, and who you truly are. But that voice is often drowned out by the noise of the world, the expectations, the comparisons, the opinions of others. It is only in silence, in the moments when you step away from the distractions, that you can finally hear it clearly. Silence is where the deepest parts of you are revealed. When you remove the background noise, the constant conversations, the social media scroll, the never-ending need to be entertained, you are left with nothing but yourself. And that is where the journey begins. It is in these moments of stillness that you start to recognize your fears, your desires, your patterns, and your purpose. You begin to see what has been holding you back, not because someone told you, but because you felt it for yourself. The world teaches us to keep moving, to stay busy, to always be surrounded by something: music, television, people, responsibilities, anything to avoid the discomfort of silence. But silence is not empty, it is full of answers. It is in that quiet space that you get to ask yourself the hard questions. What do I actually want? Who am I when no one is looking? Am I living in alignment with my truth, or am I just following a path that was handed to me? When you embrace silence, you give yourself permission to think beyond what has been taught to you. You start to see where you have been settling, where you have been ignoring your own intuition, where you have been living according to someone else's expectations instead of your own desires. You stop looking outward for direction and start looking inward for clarity. You begin to trust yourself in a way you never have before. Silence also forces you to face the parts of yourself that you may have been avoiding. The fears, the insecurities, the wounds from the past that have been buried under years of busyness. It is uncomfortable at first, but it is necessary. Because once you acknowledge those parts of yourself, you can begin to heal. You can begin to rewrite your story, not from a place of pain, but from a place of awareness. People who fear silence often fear what they will find in it. But the truth is, self-discovery is not about finding something to be afraid of. It is about uncovering the power you didn't know you had. It is about realizing that everything you have been searching for outside of yourself, the answers, the validation, the purpose, has been inside you all along, just waiting for the right moment to be heard. In silence, you start to notice what truly brings you joy and what drains you. You start to recognize which relationships uplift you and which ones deplete you. You see where you have been compromising too much, giving too much, or settling for less than you deserve. And with that awareness comes a shift in how you show up for yourself, a shift in how you move through the world, a shift in the choices you make. Silence is not a void, it is a doorway to your most authentic self, to your most honest dreams, to the version of you that has been waiting to emerge. And the more time you spend in that space, the clearer your path becomes. There comes a moment when you realize that everything you've been searching for, every bit of strength, every ounce of courage, every piece of wisdom has been inside you all along. The world teaches you to look outward for power, to seek validation from others, to wait for permission before stepping into who you truly are. But real power is not given to you. It is not something you find outside of yourself. It is something you awaken within. From the moment you are born, you are conditioned to believe that power belongs to those with authority, to those with influence, to those who have been granted a platform. But the truth is, power is not something that can be handed down. It is something you must claim for yourself. It is in your voice, your choices, your ability to stand firm in what you believe, even when the world tells you otherwise. So many people go through life waiting for the right time, waiting for someone to choose them, waiting for a sign that they are enough. But the moment you stop waiting and start believing in your own power, everything shifts. You stop needing permission to take up space. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop second-guessing your worth because you finally understand that nothing outside of you determines who you are. Your power is in your ability to trust yourself even when others doubt you. It is in your ability to rise after every setback, to keep going when things get difficult, to refuse to let fear dictate your decisions. The world will test you, it will challenge you, it will try to convince you that you are not strong enough, smart enough, or worthy enough. But no external force can take away what has always been inside you. The moment you recognize your own power, you stop playing small. You stop settling for relationships that drain you, for jobs that limit you, for situations that make you feel less than you are. You start making choices from a place of confidence rather than fear. You start standing in your truth unapologetically because you finally see yourself for who you really are, not who the world has told you to be. Your power lies in your ability to create the life you want rather than accepting the life you were given. It is in your capacity to dream beyond your current circumstances, to see possibility where others see limitations, to trust that you are capable of more than you have been led to believe. No one can define that for you. No one can take that from you. It has always been yours to own. True power is not about control, status, or dominance. It is about self-awareness. It is about knowing yourself so deeply that nothing outside of you can shake your foundation. It is about standing in the midst of chaos and remaining unshaken because you know exactly who you are and what you are capable of. Power is not something you find, it is something you remember. It is something you reclaim. It is something that has been waiting for you to recognize it, to embrace it, to step fully into it. Every great thinker, every visionary, every person who has ever changed the world has one thing in common. They spent time alone. Not because they had to, but because they understood that solitude is where ideas are born, where creativity is nurtured, and where purpose is discovered. In a world that constantly demands your attention, the ability to step away and be alone with your thoughts is not just a skill, it is a necessity. When you are alone, there is no one to impress, no roles to play, no expectations to meet. It is in that space that you begin to see yourself clearly. You start to notice the thoughts that truly belong to you and separate them from the noise of the world. You begin to ask yourself what you truly want, what excites you, what challenges you, and what kind of life you are meant to create. Some of the most groundbreaking ideas in history were born in moments of solitude. Writers, artists, inventors, and leaders have all retreated into their own space, away from the influence of others, to listen to their inner voice. Alone time is where visions are formed, where strategies are developed, where clarity is found. It is not an escape, it is an incubation period for greatness. When you spend time alone, you become more attuned to your intuition. You start to trust yourself in a way that you never could when constantly surrounded by outside opinions. You stop looking for validation because you realize that the answers you need are already within you. The more comfortable you become with solitude, the more you begin to understand that your best ideas, your most profound insights come when there is silence. Solitude also builds resilience. It teaches you to rely on yourself, to navigate challenges without always seeking external support. It forces you to become your own motivator, your own problem solver, your own source of encouragement. People who fear being alone often fear facing their own thoughts, but those who embrace solitude find strength in it. They develop a mindset that is unshaken by external circumstances because they have learned to draw from their own inner well of wisdom. Greatness requires focus, and focus thrives in solitude. When you step away from distractions, from constant interaction, from the endless stream of information, you give your mind the space it needs to process, to create, to build something meaningful. You start to see the difference between movement and progress. You begin to prioritize what truly matters rather than what simply fills your time. Alone time also fuels self-mastery. The more time you spend with yourself, the better you understand your own strengths, weaknesses, and patterns. You learn how to manage your emotions, how to push through obstacles, how to remain disciplined even when no one is watching. The most successful people in the world are not those who seek constant company. They are those who have mastered themselves first. Solitude is not isolation. It is a sacred space where you reconnect with your vision, refine your goals, and prepare yourself for the world in a way that only time alone can provide. It is where your best ideas take shape, where your confidence is built, and where your path becomes clear. The energy you carry determines what and who comes into your life. When you operate from a place of insecurity, doubt, or desperation, you attract people and situations that reflect that energy. But when you stand strong, when you know who you are, what you deserve, and what you will no longer tolerate, you create a force that draws in only what aligns with your highest self. Strength is a magnet, and the moment you embody it, everything around you begins to shift. Standing strong does not mean being rigid or closed off. It means being so grounded in your values, your boundaries, and your self-worth that you no longer entertain anything that diminishes you. It means choosing yourself first, not out of selfishness, but out of the deep understanding that only when you are whole can you truly give and receive in a meaningful way. When you stand firm in your truth, the right people recognize it and the wrong ones fall away. There is a different kind of energy that surrounds a person who is unapologetically themselves. They do not chase, they do not beg, they do not settle. They trust that what is meant for them will come, not because they are waiting passively, but because they are actively becoming the version of themselves that attracts what they desire. People who stand strong do not need to prove their worth. Their presence speaks for itself. When you allow yourself to be led by fear, fear of being alone, fear of missing out, not aligned with the path you are walking. And yes, that means some people will leave. Some relationships will fade. Some opportunities will no longer fit. But in that space, you make room for better connections, better opportunities, better experiences that match the level of respect and energy you now carry. The world responds to how you see yourself. If you see yourself as someone who is deserving of love, respect, and success, you will not entertain anything less. If you see yourself as someone who must settle, who must shrink, who must accept mistreatment to be accepted, that is what you will continue to attract. Standing strong is not just about saying what you want. It is about showing it in the way you move, the choices you make, and the energy you refuse to accept. The people who are meant to be in your life, those who truly see you, appreciate you, and respect you, are not intimidated by your strength. They are drawn to it. They see it as a reflection of their own, or as an inspiration to rise higher. And when you stop bending to fit into spaces that were never meant for you, you find yourself surrounded by people who celebrate you rather than tolerate you. Standing strong is not about proving anything to anyone. It is about proving to yourself that you are worthy of everything you desire. It is about believing that you do not have to fight for a seat at the table when you are meant to build your own. It is about embodying the energy of someone who knows they are enough, and because of that, attracting only what aligns with that truth. There is a kind of freedom that can only be found in solitude. It is the freedom of knowing that you do not need anyone else to complete you, to validate you, or to make you feel worthy. It is the kind of freedom that comes when you are no longer afraid of being alone because you have learned that solitude is not emptiness, it is fullness. Fullness of self, fullness of awareness, fullness of the life that you are creating on your own terms. When you master solitude, you stop relying on external distractions to keep you entertained, fulfilled, or emotionally stable. You no longer need constant validation from others because you have built a foundation of self-worth that is unshaken by outside opinions. You realize that your happiness is not dependent on the presence of others, but on the relationship you have with yourself. And in that realization, you discover a level of freedom that many will never experience. Solitude strips away everything that is not truly yours. It removes the expectations, the social pressures, the need to conform. It allows you to see yourself clearly, your dreams, your fears, your strengths, and your wounds. It is in those quiet moments, when there is no one else around, that you get to ask yourself what you truly want, not what the world has told you to want. And when you begin to live according to that truth, you step into a life that is fully your own. People who fear solitude often fear their own thoughts. They fear what they will find when there is no one else around to distract them. But those who embrace solitude understand that the greatest breakthroughs, the deepest healing, and the most profound transformations happen in silence. They know that solitude is not loneliness. It is a sacred space where they can connect with themselves on the deepest level. Mastering solitude also means mastering independence. It means knowing that you are capable of meeting your own needs, of making your own decisions, of finding joy within yourself rather than searching for it in others. It means no longer depending on relationships, friendships, or external achievements to give you a sense of identity. It means realizing that you are enough just as you are, without needing to be validated by anything or anyone outside of yourself. When you are truly comfortable being alone, you are no longer controlled by fear, the fear of rejection, the fear of abandonment, the fear of not being chosen. You stop settling for half-hearted relationships, for forced conversations, for situations that drain you. You become selective, not because you are closed off, but because you understand the value of your own energy. You no longer allow loneliness to push you into spaces that do not align with you. Solitude also teaches you self-sufficiency. It shows you that you can enjoy your own company, create your own happiness, and build a life that is fulfilling on your own terms. It frees you from the need to constantly seek companionship for the sake of avoiding silence. And when you are whole within yourself, the relationships you do choose to have are built on mutual respect and connection rather than on dependence or need. To master solitude is to master freedom. It is to walk through life knowing that no matter what happens, who stays, who leaves, what changes, you will always be okay because you have yourself. It is to live without the fear of losing anyone because you have already found everything you need within. It is to step into your highest power, not because of who stands beside you, but because of who you have become when you stand alone.